Intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Michelle, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the January 4th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Cover story: TV Year in Review. Love stories, controversy, cancellations, and goodbyes. It was a year of rebranding, recasting, and the reappearance of an old children's TV favorite. But if there was an overriding local theme of TV in 2025, it was love. Let's look at the TV highlights of 2025 with some radio highlights tossed in. Record-breaking love story. The Hallmark film Holiday Touchdown, A Bill's Love Story, was such a big local hit that it might have been the highest-rated entertainment program locally in November. The premiere on November 22nd had a 9.8 rating at a time that is rare for any program in prime time to get a double-digit rating, except for NFL games. The audience likely more than doubled with all the additional airings. A love letter. Any fears that the Bills' participation in the HBO series Hard Knocks would be detrimental to the team didn't pan out. It played like a love letter to the Bills Mafia and the team. There was so little drama that the series was, well, boring. Local TV love story. WIVB-TV Channel 4 anchor Kelsey Anderson, who took over some of the roles of legendary anchor Jackie Walker, married a co-worker, Nick Veronica, who almost immediately left the station to work for the Sports Business Journal. NFL love. Kansas City tight end Travis Kelce's engagement to superstar singer Taylor Swift naturally got much more attention than Bills quarterback Josh Allen's marriage to actor-singer Haley Steinfeld. Allen and Steinfeld prefer to stay out of the limelight. You wonder if Allen and Steinfeld will be invited to the wedding because Taylor and Haley are reportedly friends. Steinfeld appeared in Swift's Bad Blood music video. Falling out of love. WKBW-TV Channel 7 abruptly released news anchor Leah Lando in a cost-cutting move that also led to the departure of meteorologist Mary Beth Robel. Lando, 48, sued for age discrimination and ended the year as a correspondent for the cable news channel news station. Peyton's love story. In an amusing Bills Mafia episode of ESPN Plus series Peyton's Place, Hall of Fame quarterback Peyton Manning, with an assist from Allen, exorcised the curse of the assassination of President William McKinley in Buffalo that some believe has been responsible for keeping the Bills from a Super Bowl victory. Tear-jerking movie trend. With streaming sites producing original movies such as Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein and carrying films quickly after they are released in theaters, many people who used to love the shared experience of watching movies in theaters are deciding to watch them at home on streaming sites. That's one reason that downtown's AMC Market Arcade closed. Streaming is the best. The bigger reason for the decline in movie attendance is how many terrific series air every month on the streaming sites to binge. Some of my recent favorites are The Beast in Me on Netflix, All Her Fault on Peacock, and Pluribus on Apple TV+. The first two series highlighted recent streaming trend, programs that suggest all men are evil. Premature report. CBS sideline reporter Tracy Wolfson declared Allen as the NFL MVP well before the official announcement on TV in February. Allen's acceptance speech ended with an instant classic line, "Be good, do good, God bless, go Bills," that quickly appeared on t-shirts and coffee cups. His speech also made a Bill's mailroom employee, Slick Rick, a viral sensation. Say something nice about Spectrum. The local cable company is offering several streaming sites for free or reduced rates for customers with certain plans. It doesn't roll off your tongue? The local public broadcasting company launched a cumbersome rebranding campaign that put the letters BTPM, which stands for Buffalo Toronto Public Media, before its TV and radio stations. For instance, the radio station had BTPM NPR. The TV station is BTPM PBS. It still is Channel 17 to me. Funding concern. The Trump administration's defunding of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting led to fears that BTPM would need to make some cuts, but a spokesperson recently said it hasn't been necessary yet. Happy returns. Popular former radio news anchor Steve Sykin returned to the media as a reporter and host of All Things Considered for local public broadcasting BTPM NPR after 7 years away teaching. The Channel 17 children's series Reading Rainbow returned as a digital series via Kidzuko, a YouTube canned channel operated by Sony Picture Television. Plus sizes. WGRZ TV Channel 2 and WIVB began carrying streaming channels WGRZ Plus and WIVB Plus, carrying local news and featuring original programming highlighting the personalities and hobbies of their anchors and reporters. Anchors away. The retirement of Channel 4 anchor Don Postles at the end of 2024, 7 months after Jackie Walker left the anchor desk, led to Anderson and Dave Graber becoming the main late afternoon and early evening anchor team, and Marley Tusk getting the TV and getting the 10 and 11 p.m. newscasts. According to November Nielsen, Channel 4 remains number 1. The service ComScore was more favorable to Channel 2. RIP, Channel 2 moved the formerly popular 4 p.m. program Most Buffalo off its broadcast station and rebranded the hour as a regular newscast, first at 4. Channel 7's short-lived 4:30 program Studio 7, which was similar to a cable access program, was canceled. Meredith Wilson, the program host, eventually left the station. Book reports. More than a year after leaving CBS, Kenmore native Jeff Gore is writing a book, The Stories That Saved Me. Western New York native Gene Jankowski, who rose to president of the CBS Broadcast Group, wrote a memoir, Behind the Eye, that included a lot of detail about his upbringing here. Let's make a deal. Nexstar, which owns 200 stations, including WIVB-TV and WNLO-TV locally, needs the FCC to waive the 39% rule in its attempt to acquire Tegna, the owner of 64 stations, including WGRZ-TV. If it happens, it could change the local TV news landscape. The fear is competition between the two Buffalo stations will suffer, even though Nexstar says it will enhance competition. Who knew? Dick Smothers, who had a legendary controversial CBS variety program with his late brother Tom, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, now lives in Western New York with his wife. In an interview, Dick said they found that the controversy that led to ABC late-night host Jimmy Kimmel being suspended for his comments after the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk sounded all too familiar to the circumstance of the cancellation of the brothers' program. After Kimmel returned from his suspension, his ratings increased locally and nationally. Late night shocker. CBS blamed its cancellation of ratings leader The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in May on it losing money, but skeptics believe it was because the new owners of Paramount caved into pressure from President Trump. The year of Seth. Actor, writer, producer Seth Rogen seemingly was everywhere. He was one of the creators of the Emmy-winning Apple TV Plus series, The Studio, Screwing Hollywood, co-starred with the Apple TV Plus series Platonic, made guest appearances in the Max series Hacks and the Netflix series Nobody Wants This, and was the narrator of the TV movie A Very Backstreet Holiday. American and Canadian Dreams. Buffalo Mayor John Maggio produced a documentary on legendary Canadian singer Paul Anka that recently played on HBO. He also produced a poignant documentary, The Act of Dreaming, about immigrants living in Western New York that played at the Buffalo International Film Festival and deserves to find a streaming site. Chilling Tales. 15 scary movies and series for the dead of winter. Midnight Mass. After serving 4 years in prison for a drunk driving accident in which a woman was killed, Riley Flynn, played by Zach Gilford, returns to his isolated, naturally hometown on Crockett Island with a new priest. The Haunting of Bly Manor. This contemporary retelling of Henry James, The Turn of the Shrew, is a masterpiece of modern Gothic. The Haunting of Hill House. This series, which predates Bly Manor and shares many cast members, is a modern-day adaptation of Shirley Jackson classic of the same name. Mama, an exquisite, heartbreaking, and genuinely terrifying contemplation of trauma and familiar love. Dr. Sleep. Flanagan is at it again, adapting Stephen King's sequel to The Shining. Crimson Peak, a true Victorian Gothic tale in which budding author Edith, played by Mia Wasikowska, marries the mysterious Sir Thomas Sharp, played by Tom Hiddleston, who convinces her to move to his dilapidated and, say it with me now, isolated mansion so he can use his newly invented digging machine to revitalize his family name. His House. After losing their daughter as they fled the horrors of South Sudan to seek asylum in the UK, Rael, played by Wumi Musaka, and Bowl, played by Sop Duris, find themselves assigned to a falling down house in a neighborhood filled with racists. The Conjuring, a film that kick-started the franchise, remains the best one in it. Ritual. After one of their friends is killed during a robbery, 4 men decide to take a hiking trip in Sweden to mark his passing. Penny Dreadful. Victor Frankenstein, played by Harry Treadaway, and his monster, played by Rory Kinnear, meet and mingle with Dorian Gray, played by Reeve Carney. Dr. Henry Jekyll, played by Shazaz Latif, and Count Dracula, played by Christian Camparo. In the 3 seasons of John Logan's gothic, gory, and generally fun pastiche of the Victorian supernatural tales known as Penny Dreadfuls. The Outsider. In this adaptation of Stephen King's 2018 novel of the same name, the savage corpse of a boy is found in the woods, and all evidence points to beloved Little League coach Terry Matlin, played by Jason Bateman, who appears to have an ironclad alibi. The Terror. The first season of this anthology series is based on Dan Simmons' best-selling supernatural tinge imaging of what happened to the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror when they went missing during a 1845 expedition to find the Northwest Passage through the Arctic. Sleepy Hollow. Modern-day Sleepy Hollow, fallen Continental Army officer and friend of George Washington, Ichabod Crane, played by Tom Mison, wakens 230 years after he beheaded a mysteriously evil horseman. The Forest. A girl has gone missing from the village near Belgium's dense Ardennes forest, and the town's new detective, Gaspar Decker, played by Samuel Labertha, works with local police officer Virginia Musso, played by Suzanne Clement, and a concerned teacher to find her. Being Human, Annie Lenora, Annie Mitchell, played by Aidan Turner, and George, played by Russell Tovey, seem like three normal flatmates living in Bristol, but they are actually a ghost, a vampire, and a werewolf. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the January 4th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Things to do. Strictly Hip musical residency returns to Bayville by Tony Roberto. Looking for something to do in the post-New Year's Eve lull? You can check out Strictly Hip's residency at Bayville. Visit the Birchville Penny Art Center for free. Kick off the weekend early at the Midweek Vibe and more. Strictly Hip January residency. Multiple Fridays in January on the 9th Ward at Bayville. M&T second Friday, 5:30 to 9, Friday at the Birchville Penny Art Center, Elmwood Avenue. Midweek Vibe, New Year, New Vibes, 8 p.m. Wednesday in the 9th Ward at Bayville, Delaware Avenue. Mimosas and Minuets, Little Cake, 1 p.m. Saturday at Dundee at Silo City, 85 Silo City Row. Ceramic Painting Workshop, 6:30 to 9, Tuesday at The Ridge, Orchard Park Road. Quick calendar. Jeopardy Trivia, 7 p.m. Wednesday at Big Ditch, East Huron Street. Buffalo Filmmakers Meet Up, 6 p.m. Thursday at Breezy Burrito Bar, Elmwood Avenue. Bon Jovi, the ultimate tribute to Bon Jovi, 7:30 Friday in the Riviera Theater, North Tonawanda. When Legions Fall, Arcana, Call Me Disaster, Thorns for Lovers and Socialite. Doors open at 6, Saturday at Mohawk Place. The Ultimate Led Zeppelin Experience, 7 p.m. Saturday at Electric City, 433 Pearl Street. West Herd Riviera Theater. Don Jovi, January 9th. George Michael, February 7th. Close to You, February 13th. The Wizard of Oz on Ice, February 14th. Pearl Jamming, February 27th. Outlaw State of Mind, March 6th. The Celtic Tenors, March 16th. Return to Paradise, March 20th. Sticky Sweet, March 27th. Just Like Pink, March 28th. Abrax, a tribute to Santana, April 3rd. Strange Love, April 4th. The McCartney Experience, April 11th. Simply the Best, tribute to Tina Turner, April 17th. Las Vegas Memories and Melodies, John Wayne, April 25th. Mutt's Gone Nuts, World-Class Stunt Dogs and a Hilarious Comedy Show, May 3rd. Movies. Another Level 1. Calumet supersizes his career in Marty Supreme by Bruce Miller. Audiences overlooked how truly talented Leonardo DiCaprio was in his early days. In film after film, he battled through all sorts of roles and won new admirers. Now, Timothy Calumet is in those prove-it years, but he's not letting anyone overlook him. In Marty Supreme, a wild, ever-moving account of a ping-pong player's life, he seizes every moment and comes away with a performance for the ages. This, not Bob Dylan in last year's A Complete Unknown, is his valedictorian. It draws on new skills, capitalizes on his high energy, and lets him surprise, with Gwyneth Paltrow, no less, in ways you didn't imagine. Rated R. Runtime 150 minutes. Like Marty, Sardi doesn't miss an opportunity. He packs his film with acting newcomers and lets them follow Calamit's enthusiasm. The result is a kinetic achievement that deserves attention. Supreme indeed. Television. All Her Fault. Thriller about missing child explores pressures placed on modern moms by Mark Kennedy. After a long day at work, you rush to pick up your child from a play day with a new friend, but there's a problem as soon as you get there. The person who answers the door has no idea who your child is, or you. I think you've got the wrong house, they say. Your child has disappeared. This parental kick-in-the-stomach scenery is being manifestoed onto TV screens with All Her Fault, a thrilling 8-episode series from Peacock that also acts as a subtle satire of the modern marriage. The questions come fast and furious. Who made the play date? Who checked the nanny involved? Did mom need to be at work? Like the title suggests, All Her Fault explores how women get stretched trying to juggle a career while maintaining a household and children, and getting blamed if anything goes wrong. I had years and years and years of just trying to do it all, and I nearly hospitalized myself with exhaustion, says Megan Gallagher, the show's creator, writer, and executive producer. So these themes are very, very present in me and in my life. It was painful to dive into at times, but I'm glad I did it. Adapted from a 2021 novel by Irish novelist Andrea Mara, the story has been transplanted to America, a transition which its creator unfortunately says wasn't hard. This is very universally understood kind of thing, Gallagher says. Sarah Snook and Dakota Fanning star. The series features star Sarah Snook of Succession as Marissa Irvine, the desperate mother at its heart. She knows all sorts of details about her 5-year-old son Milo, like what he was wearing when he disappeared, right down to the little dinosaur decal on his coat. Her husband is clueless. It's assumed that the women are the CEOs of the household, and it's their job to delegate and run and manage projects, and they're working full-time. I think that's when we run into problems, Gallagher says. Snook and Marissa, half of a well-to-do couple who work in finance in the Chicago suburbs, is helped by her new mom friend, played by Dakota Fanning. They lean on each other as they wait for a ransom call, and police begin questioning anyone involved. Snook says she was attracted to a story about female friendship that is empowering and a source of strength. Usually the presumption would be that they're definitely going to be pitted against each other, she says. It's soon apparent that husbands in this world blithely go to work while their wives work while also making doctor appointments, arranging pickups, packing snacks, and buying uniforms. I'm tired of being amazing. I don't want to be amazing anymore, Fanning's character says at one point. Work-life imbalance. My mother's generation was so fixated on getting into the workplace, Gallagher says. That was what they wanted. Please let me in. Open the doors. Let me in. They had no exit strategy for the house. My generation has grown up with the assumption that we'll just do both, and that's sort of what was been handed to us. I'm the default parent. You're the substitute, Fanning's character says to her husband. It's never equal. Your time off is to do your own thing and to be your own person and to play basketball and see your friends. And my time off is to grocery shop, to clean the house, to cook, to do the laundry. So I didn't actually have any time off. Fanning says she thought portraits of women struggling to juggle so much while in a thriller was an interesting way to showcase what a lot of women experience. I think what it does is highlight that sometimes the men in a two-parent man and woman household can just not see it, can be sort of oblivious to it because it just gets handled before they can even notice. The narrow focus on the abduction slowly expands to show the home life of such characters as the detective in charge, played by Michael Pena, and Marissa's brother and sister-in-law, played by Daniel Monks and Abby Elliott. You have this one track of a thriller in which a boy is missing, and that's one tense, anxiety-introducing storyline. But in order to solve that, in that tension, anxiety, and exhaustion, these family secrets from long ago, or the recent past, start to bubble up, says Jake Lacey, who plays Marissa's husband. Books. Atkins mined his 80s youth for latest spy thriller by Peter Larson. Everybody Wants to Rule the World, a novel by Ace Atkins. For more than a decade, novelist Ace Atkins kept a rigorous schedule and a prolific pace in his small writing office in Oxford, Mississippi. A cup of coffee and then to work, writing 21 books, 11 in his Quinn Colson series, another 10 in the Robert Parker Spencer series. That was kind of my life for about a decade, Atkins says. I would write about North Mississippi, Sheriff Quinn Colson, and the Dixie Mafia and that kind of thing. Then I'd go and take a trip up to Boston and start researching what was going to be the next Spencer book, he says. Essentially, what it took was that I didn't take a lot of time off. I worked every day. Atkins said he still maintains that kind of discipline at the keyboard, but the narratives have changed. His new book, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and its 2024 predecessor, Let the Devil Ride, are his first standalone thrillers in 15 years. The comedic thriller, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, takes place in 1985 in Atlanta. Teenager Peter Bennett isn't old enough to drive yet, but when he realizes his mom's boyfriend might be a Soviet spy, he starts to investigate, sometimes with his best buds Scott and Brenda, eventually with the almost forgotten crime writer Dennis Halchner, and Hotch's best friend, a former Atlanta Falcons defensive turned drag queen, Jackie Demure. The story's twists and turns include Soviet agents undercover in Atlanta, a lovelorn KGB defector, and FBI agents of different qualities, with the Reagan-era Star Wars missile defense system at the center of their spy games. I think the story had been kind of rolling around my head for some decades, Atkins says, of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It was kind of my fantasy life as a 14 or 15-year-old. A voracious reader, he devoured spy fiction at the time. Everything from Clive Cussler to Robert Ludlum to John le Carre to the first books from Tom Clancy, he says. I was very much into that world of the spy, which was in the zealots at the time. On trips with his mother to the Lenox Square shopping mall in Atlanta's Buckhead district, he'd replay the spy sceneries he read. Books. Literary agent. Charles Beaumont was a spy. Now he's writing spy novels by Eric Penderson. A Spy Alone, a novel by Charles Beaumont, former M16 operative. Charles Beaumont is not this author's real name. It's the nom de plume of a former M16 operative who now writes novels and A Spy Alone and A Spy at War, which are part of his Oxford Spy Ring series, are terrific. Very contemporary tales that are bestsellers in the UK. Here he shares more about the series and some of his favorite books. Please tell readers about your new book, A Spy Alone and A Spy at War. A Spy Alone is the first book in the Oxford Spy Ring trilogy. These are contemporary espionage thrillers that draw heavily on real events to tell stories about the world we live in. In A Spy Alone, Simon Sharman, a British former intelligence officer eking out a living in the private sector, is commissioned to investigate a Russian oligarch who wants to make a major donation to Oxford University. As he does so, Sharman starts to suspect that he's uncovering a deeper conspiracy. A Russian spy ring at the heart of the British establishment, recruited while students at Oxford University. In the sequel, A Spy at War, Simon Sharman is in a war-torn Ukraine, pursuing the killer of one of his colleagues as a disinformation campaign unfolds in the West to undermine support for Ukraine. Sharman travels to the front lines in the Donbass. Betrayal and suspicion abound as it's unclear who Sharman can trust in this most dangerous of places. Is there a book you always recommend to other readers? A spy novel that I always recommend is The Company by Robert Littell, a brilliant epic tale that gives the reader a history of the CIA from its inception up to the collapse of the Soviet Union, weaving numerous historic events into the narrative while telling the story of a decades-long mole hunt. What are you reading now? I've been reading The Persian by my friend, the former CIA officer David McCluskey. He's a brilliant writer of modern espionage fiction, but in this book he branches away slightly from his previous books set around the CIA to write about the fascinating and gripping story of the secret war between Israel and Iran. The book, like all of McCluskey's, is highly believable at the same time as being thrilling, exciting, and also dryly funny. Do you have a favorite character or quote from a book? I have many. As a good old-fashioned hero, you can't beat Richard Hanning from John Buchanan's novel, most famously The 39 Steps. As an anti-hero, Tom Ripley is brilliant, as you feel some sympathy for him even as he's a dishonest psychopath. I love Harriet Vane in Dorothy Sayles' novel. She has a brilliant resilience and is a bit of a model for the character of Sarah DeCane in my novels. As for my favorite quote, it comes from Foucault's Pendulum. Quote, "The whole world is an enigma, a harmless enigma that is made terrible by our own mad attempt to interpret it." Taste. Restaurant notes. Hanai, Hawaiian barbecue, serves authentic, flavorful meals by Francesca Bond. Hawaiian food is not only a part of David Delaney's life, it's a part of his body. His forearm is inked with the tattoo Spam Musubi. Spam Musubi was everywhere during Delaney's childhood, which was spent mostly in Southern California and sometimes in Hawaii. The snack was served at 7-Eleven. His aunt would pull a little Spam Musubi, which is a lot like sushi and a little like a hot dog, out of her purse whenever Delaney was hungry. Of course, Delaney needed to introduce his own take on Spam musubi to Buffalo. Buffalo is used to the story of a local resident moving away, gaining experience elsewhere, and bringing their worldly expertise back home. Delaney reversed the story. 2 years ago, while feeling a little wayward, Delaney left his home state of California for a new life in Buffalo. In California, Delaney worked primarily as a touring musician. However, he often supplemented his income by picking up work in Hawaiian restaurants, cooking the kinds of foods he grew up eating in a Hawaiian family. When he moved to Buffalo, Delaney worked in the kitchen at Pizzeria Florian, where he was encouraged to develop his Hawaiian cooking skills and expand a type of cuisine that is rare within Buffalo: authentic Hawaiian plate barbecue. Delaney opened Hane Hawaiian Barbecue, Myrtle Avenue, inside Buffalo Brewing Company on Halloween. Customers can order beef from the brewery and Hawaiian food from Delaney at the same bar counter during Hane's hours, which are 4 to 8 Wednesday and Thursday, noon to 8 Friday and Saturday. The food makes for great takeout, but can also be eaten at the brewery's high tops while vintage movies play in the background. Shortly before opening in October, Delaney told the Buffalo News that the Hawaiian plate lunch was an amalgamation of several Pacific Asian cultures: Japan, Korea, the Philippines, because it originated on Hawaiian plantations. It's really, really important to me that I wanted it to be authentic. I really wanted people to know that these are the foods you would eat over there. It's not this commercialized version, Delaney said in October. It's going to be a lot of your Hawaiian barbecue classics, but with a little bit of fun and elevated twist. Delaney's Hawaiian plate lunch is naturally portable, served traditional barbecue style in a white plastic takeout container. Choose between 10 plates. Each plate comes with sides of macaroni salad, Asian coleslaw, and a foundation of fluffy rice. The most popular plate features slow-cooked caramelized Papakua beef short ribs, which slide off the bone. Shreds of smoked koju chicken marinated in a sticky Cajun sauce are also popular. Other options include ground hamburger patties drenched in miso brown gravy with fried onions and slow-cooked pulled pork with Hawaiian sea salt. Delaney also specializes in raw ahi tuna poke, which is also served on a plate with macaroni salad, Asian slaw, and rice. For tuna, choose between sweet teriyaki sauce and a topping of crispy fried garlic, or a sweet and spicy Japanese citrus sauce with calamansi and yuzu fruits, topped with crispy fried onions. Delaney's Spam musubi is a sushi-like brick of crispy seared Spam layered on top of sticky rice with teriyaki sauce and furikake sprinkles wrapped in seaweed. It costs $3.50 and comes swaddled in saran wrap. It's secure enough and snackable enough, some would say, to toss in a purse. Food events. Another dry January is upon us. Alchemy Wine and Beer on Union Street, Hamburg, is demystifying the world of non-alcoholic alternatives with a tasting and mixology class on non-alcoholic gin, Aberpal-style bitters, champagne, and dealcoholized wine and beer. The class is open from 6 to 8, January 14th. It costs $60. To celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day from 11 to 4, January 19th, guest chef Walika Abrams will take over the kitchen at Cornelia, the restaurant inside the Buffalo AKG Art Museum on Elmwood Avenue. Abrams will be serving fried chicken with macaroni and cheese, collard greens, and a biscuit, and a dessert of banana pudding cheesecake. Easy and cheesy from the kitchen. A shortcut or two helps make this lasagna a weeknight worthy dish. Traditional lasagna is a once-a-year project for me. I love it deeply, but it's rare that I can carve it out time for it. When it does happen, it's in the dead of winter when I have absolutely nothing else to do but spend the entire day in the kitchen. When it's impossible to beat the classic version with a homemade bolognese sauce, and when I am managing homemade pasta, I'm all about an easier version that makes lasagna a much more frequent occurrence. This recipe is exactly that. This lasagna is about as low lift as you can get while still achieving cheesy, crowd-pleasing results. Here's how to make it. Ingredients is serves 8 to 10. 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 1 medium onion chopped, 1 pound of ground beef, half teaspoon of kosher salt, quarter teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, 1 24 to 25 ounce jar of marinara sauce, 12 ounces of low moisture mozzarella cheese, shredded, divided, 15 dry lasagna noodles, no boil, about 2/3 of a pound box, divided, 15 to 16 ounces of whole milk ricotta cheese. Arrange in the rack of the middle of the oven and heat the oven to 400. Heat olive oil, 12-inch pan over medium heat, simmering. Add the onions, ground beef, salt and pepper, and cook. Bring the beef up into the small pieces with a wooden spoon. Open the jar of sauce and spread a thin layer of sauce on the bottom. Stir the remaining sauce into the ground beef. Shred the 12 ounces of low moisture mozzarella if needed. Place 5 noodles in the baking dish, breaking them if needed to create a single layer. It's okay if the noodles overlap slightly. Dollop and spread 1 cup of the ricotta cheese over the noodles. Dollop and spread 1.5 cups of the meat sauce on the ricotta. Sprinkle with a cup of mozzarella. Arrange 5 more noodles over the mozzarella, followed by 1 cup of ricotta cheese, 1.5 cups of meat sauce, and 1 cup of mozzarella. Top with a final layer of noodles and the remaining sauce, spreading the sauce thin so that it almost completely covers the noodles, reserving the remaining 1 cup of mozzarella for the end of the baking. Cover the dish slightly with aluminum foil. Bake for 1 hour. Check to make sure the noodles are done by poking the lasagna with a knife. The knife should slide out easily through all the layers. If it doesn't, cover and cook for 15 minutes more. Uncover the lasagna and sprinkle with the remaining mozzarella. Bake uncovered until the mozzarella is melted and lightly browned and the sauce is bubbling, 8 to 10 minutes. Let the lasagna cool on a wire rack for at least 15 minutes. Make ahead. The lasagna can be assembled and refrigerated up to 2 days in advance or frozen for up to 1 month. Thaw the frozen lasagna for 2 days in the refrigerator before baking. Taste. Lighten up. Picture. Better for you fare still offers plenty of indulgence. Pictures of lemongrass chicken strips. Jeannie Marie Bronston photos. The Tribune Content Agency. Lighten up. Jeannie Marie Bronson. After a recent move, we realize it's time to lighten the load. The excess books, knickknacks, and record albums need to go, but so do the pounds. As a trained chef and recipe developer, I cook and eat all the right foods. The trouble is, I eat too much. A new year offers the opportunity to make few adjustments. Cutting the fat, for example. Move over holiday beef roasts and party-friendly chicken wings. Embrace lean proteins instead. Stock container full of cooked, highly flavored, portion-controlled items such as chicken tenders, salmon fillets, or thinly sliced pork tenderloin. Its prices in the spicy yogurt marinade renders these cuts delicious when eaten hot, cold, or at room temperature. A sheet pan full of roasted vegetables, made luxurious with olive oil and salt, proves so good that we usually overeat. While the air fryer uses less oil, though not none, eating the same vegetables raw sparks feelings of self-pity. To solve this, blanch or steam the vegetables for a deeper flavor and a more satisfying mouthfeel. Blanch vegetables in a large pot of boiling salted water until tender. Start with the lightest colored vegetables such as cauliflower. Remove them with a slotted spoon when they are crisp and tender and drain in a colander. Next, cook the carrots, followed by the broccoli, snap peas, or asparagus. Save the flavorful cooking water as a base for vegetable soup. To keep those vegetables as tempting as a salty snack, serve them with a spicy dip for dunking. Instead of sour cream, use protein-rich plain Greek yogurt as the base. To temper the yogurt's tang, add a spicy red chili sauce, such as harissa, a Moroccan staple. Alternately stir in Asian red chili sauce with garlic or a tablespoon of red chili hot sauce, such as peri peri. Dark green leafy vegetables such as baby kale and spinach offer fiber and a satisfying chew. To keep salads tempting, experiment with homemade dressings. Not only do they taste better, but the cook controls the amount of sugar, salt, and other additives. I make a double recipe of the lemon vinaigrette that follows. Some will dress green salads, the rest will perk up canned beans for a protein-packed, winter-friendly salad suitable for on-the-go lunches. Tender white beans mixed with some garbanzo beans readily absorb the vinaigrette, making them flavorful. Chopped cucumbers and red onion add crunch. For added protein and satisfying goodness, stir in fresh mozzarella pearls or diced firm tofu. A can of flaked tuna fish is another option. For dinner, warm up the bean salad briefly in the microwave, then slice the spicy chicken sausage. Ultimately, in the new year, eat the good stuff, just not too much or too often. Your load will lighten. Winter bean salad recipe with lemon vinaigrette. 1 can each of drained garbanzo beans, white beans, 1 cup of diced cucumber, 1 cup of diced red onion, well rinsed, 1/2 cup of lemon vinaigrette, 1/2 teaspoon each of dried basil and oregano, 2 cups of half multicolored cherry or grape tomatoes, 8 ounces of mozzarella pearls or diced firm tofu, thinly sliced green onion, can of tuna fish drained. Mix the beans, the cucumber, the red onion, the vinaigrette, basil, and oregano in a large bowl. Let stand 30 minutes, stirring occasionally. Stir in the tomatoes, the mozzarella, and the green onions. Taste and adjust salt. Lemon vinaigrette. Ingredients is finely grated rind of 1 lemon, juice of 1 lemon, about 3 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons each of olive oil, canola oil, white wine vinegar, 1 clove of garlic, half teaspoon each of Dijon mustard and salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper. Grate the lemon rind into a small bowl. Add remaining ingredients and whisk until salt dissolves. Refrigerate up to 3 days. Use at room temperature. red chili yogurt dip. Serve this dip with blanched vegetables or use as a spread on turkey roll-ups. 1 cup of plain Greek yogurt, 1 tablespoon harissa sauce or red chili garlic sauce, grated rind of 1 small lemon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, ginger and lemongrass chicken strips. You can also try this recipe using marinated salmon fillets or 1/2-inch thick slices of pork tenderloin. 1 carton of plain Greek yogurt, 1 tablespoon each of refrigerated ginger paste, refrigerated lemongrass puree, 1 teaspoon each of curry powder and salt, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground cayenne, 2 pounds of raw chicken breast tenders or 1-inch wide strips of boneless, skinless chicken breasts, chopped fresh cilantro. Directions: mix all the ingredients except the chicken and the cilantro in a medium-sized glass or stainless steel bowl. Add chicken and stir well to coat on all sides. Refrigerate. Heat oven to 425 on convection setting or 450 on conventional setting. Line a baking sheet with silicone mat or parchment paper. Arrange the chicken with the marinade that clings to it on the baking sheet in a single uncrowded layer. Bake chicken without turning until slightly firm when pressed about 20 minutes. Serve hot or warm, sprinkled with cilantro, or refrigerate, cover up for 3 days. Movies, another level. Calumet supersizes his career in Marty Supreme by Bruce Miller. Audiences, rated R. Audiences overlooked how talented Leonardo DiCaprio was in his early days. In film after film, he battled through all sorts of roles and won new admirers. Now, Timothy Calumet is in those prove-it years, but he's not anyone overlook him. In Marty Supreme, a wild, ever-loving account of ping-pong player's life, he seizes every moment and comes away with the performance of the ages. This, not Bob Dylan in last year's A Complete Unknown, is his valedictorian. It draws on new skills, capitalizes on a high energy, and lets him surprise, with Gwyneth Paltrow no less, in ways you didn't imagine. As a title character loosely based on Marty Reisman, an international table tennis pro, Calumet darts through Forrest Gump like situations and isn't afraid to squirm his way out of tight situations. He gets into hustling games and vows to make it to London, where he can serve on the biggest tables. His family, including Fran Drescher as his mother, isn't sure he'll make it, but he persists and quickly begins enjoying the spoils of success. When he spots a movie star, Paltrow, in the lobby of a hotel, he decides to spring into action. Interestingly, her husband, played by Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary, likes him and agrees to help push the career. Director Josh Safdie gives many scenes the twist of The Sting and the drama of The Godfather. In fact, Marty Supreme is such a well-oiled machine, it could sit nicely in the cinematic weeds of the 1970s and hold up. In 2025, it's an outlier, a quality film that doesn't just blend in, it towers. Like Marty, Safdie doesn't miss an opportunity. He packs his film with acting newcomers and lets them follow Calumet's enthusiasm. The result is a kinetic achievement that deserves attention. Supreme indeed. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the January 4th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Your reader has been Michelle. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the front section of the Sunday Times. At 2 o'clock, we have the New York Times Opinion section. And at 3 o'clock, we have the New York Times Arts and Leisure section. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability.